All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to notice that I'm going to be adding some Magic the Gathering stuff to the channel. All two of you. I actually started another channel to do that, and I realized, well, it's a lot of upkeep to, no pun intended, upkeep, to keep 2 channels going, 2 emails, 2 checking. So I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it all in one. It'll be under the branch or the umbrella of the geekdom. So anything that's geeky that I'm into, which is a lot. my wallet suffers so much. Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Gunpla, Warhammer, the novels too, video games, manga, comic books, as you guys see. Whatever is geeky, I'm a part of it 100% because that shit is fun and it should be experienced. But Magic, like most people, even my age, especially my age, I think, have a love-hate relationship with it. Is that they loved it, they loved the idea, and then they started playing and they found that one jerk who really fudged the bucket so they would deter you from wanting to play anymore. However, I made players, right? Oh, how do you do that? Well, I found a girl and I made my children, and now I have an older son who has a hard time reading, and this actually helps him. He reads the card. He has to figure out strategy, how this card works with something else. And to see his face light up when a combo or works out to his benefit, yeah, it's great. Except for like my ass gets whooped. But so I'm going to go through a little bit of the intro of like my experience with Magic. And I'm sure a lot of you had maybe a similar experience with Magic. I'm going to flash some card type thingies that I have from my past. As I tell the story, so I don't really have the list. I should have probably printed the list, but there are a few that I went through Scryfall to see what the card list looked like, and it brought back some memories. And there was like a lot of cool cards that I never really got. But anyways, I started with Ice Age. Ice Age was the starter pack that I bought. My brother, he bought a different one. I don't think it was Ice Age. I think it might have been maybe the one before it. Anyways, we started with those, and then we divided up. I got 6th edition, and he got Mercurian Mask. And then we tried to build our decks accordingly. I had cards like Disenchant. I had a Boros deck. I always liked fire and whatever white did. Usually like defense or heal. I had a lot of healing things. I also had an artifact that healed. You'll see one that looks like a bunch of lion heads. Like you tap, I think 1 or 2, and you tap it, and then you can get life. Guy can tell you how many times that helped me. I think there was healing salve or something like that. It did something too, but I liked it. And then, as we kept getting newer cards, it looked like it was shit. I like lost interest altogether. It was no longer fun. Yu-Gi-Oh was coming out. That had a great TV show, so we started buying that instead. And then we found out significantly later that the sets for Yu-Gi-Oh, you're never gonna get any of these good fucking sick cards like Summon Skull or Guy the Fierce Knight or Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician Girl. None of these cards are gonna come out. You had shit cards for I think 4 or 5 sets, then finally some of the cards were really coming out. But anyways, like I stopped because strategies were dumb. There were no resources. Nerds were not very welcoming. Oh my god, you ever sit down with one of these guys from like the mid to late 90s? Fucking shitheads. Unless you were a woman, they weren't going to give you the time of day. And even then, wow, what are you doing here? Girls don't play Magic. Anyway, so I gave up, and that was it. After a while of Yu-Gi-Oh, and then you realize this is lame too, I stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Years later, I started dating a a so-called geek girl. She wasn't really, sort of ish. She had geeky friends in school, and she really wanted to emulate that. And her friends started talking about Magic. I'm like, hey, I used to play that. She was like, oh, could we get it and you can show me? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I bought some Kamigawa, and she got 7th edition. Holy shit, she got some sick dick cards. Green. I told her to build a green deck because green is basic, and you can easily win. I hate green, but green is basic. And she did. She won quite a few times. And we had a little bit of fun, and I liked Kamigawa with the Bushido. I loved Myojin of Infinite Rage. That was one of my favorite cards I could never use because there was no ramping, sort of, back then. Or that idea of ramping. The idea to bring in a thing and pay 2 or 3 to bring in something that's just going to give you another land when, like, well, why don't I just put another land? Yeah, but you could play at the same time as a land, so your next turn you have that one. You know, ideas like that never really occurred to me. I felt like such an idiot. And then I think the 5th Dawn was the last pack I was buying. I got Beacon of Destruction, which was deal 5 damage, then shuffle the card back into your deck. I'm like, oh, that's great. It'll never go to the graveyard. Then I played my roommate who had a mill deck. And if you're not, those of you uninitiated, a mill deck is, and I didn't know at the time, was it takes your card from your library and puts it in your graveyard. Because one of the win conditions is if you cannot draw a card, you lose. So I'm like, okay. So yeah, you put 4 cards in you mill 4 cards. I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next turn, okay, now you mill 6. Why 6? Like, I'm still struggling to get land and creatures in. This guy's freaking... Then finally I got some guys in. I got a couple of trolls. I got some goblins. And I'm starting to strike. And he's got like barely anybody to block. At one point he just had his enchantments. And I didn't get my disenchant card. And he just milled and milled and milled. I got Beacon of Destruction. I used it. 5 damage to him. Milled and I got it back. I got it twice. So he got 10 damage, right? He was practically almost dead. Nope. He milled my entire... I'm like, this fucking sucks. This is not a way to win. This is fucking losers. Like, how the hell did you even come up with this idea? Well, you did in the card. Like, fuck this and fuck you. I put it away. I never touched it again. Then my son... we were playing Pokemon, and he's like, this game is lame. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's very basic. And he was mad that I kept winning. I don't have any... VMAXs in my deck. I hate those things. The idea that you have to give up 2 cards if it loses, I always thought that was dumb. Just get strong basics. So I got like 2 Snorlaxes and a few other ones there. And like Snorlax comes in. I'm like, yeah, 120. One more turn, right? And now it's 2 cards for me. You switch just before my guy dies, and then a healing potion. Anyways, the point is that he got upset because it was getting boring. I said, well, there is Yu-Gi-Oh, but that is freaking complicated, and the text is very small, and I need glasses now, so that's off the table. So I'm like, oh, well, there's Magic, and sure enough, he's like, hey, my friend at school has talked about Magic. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And his friend at school, and I spoke to him, and his dad showed up, and we were talking, and I'm like, oh, and we get along well on a lot of different subjects, political especially, and that was nice. Considering the majority of people who play Magic the Gathering, or at least the majority of the people who are on YouTube who play Magic the Gathering, are definitely one-sided politically, and you could tell when you get the pronouns and whatever, but that's not the point. Yeah, so he's like, yeah, he wasn't really like informative, and the guy did really not his best sell to get me back into it. But I always wanted to have someone to play with, and if my kid's going to be the one I play with, that's going to be awesome. Because then, you know, I can get back into it. I can play enough games that he doesn't want to give up. And that's exactly how it went. So we started buying cards, and he built this pretty damn good Commander deck. And I had to learn what Commander was and draft. And, these cards aren't legal. And then I went from using a regular deck, and my son's like, well, why don't you build a Commander one? And like, I don't want to. No, I don't want to break up too many of these cards. I had a Samurai deck with Kamigawa. But as we were starting buying more and more packs, Kamigawa, I have them all taped here. So Phyrexia, Wilds of Eldraine, Brothers War. And then finally I was at this garbage store called 3 Mana. God, the worst Magic or card shop ever. Every time I go there, I'm like, hey man, you got any boosters? Because I look on the shelf and there's fucking none. No? What the fuck do you sell here then? So I'm like, alright, cool. He's like, well, we got pre-release for Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I'm like, that sounds like a stupid name. So I bought it, and it was like, what, 6 or 8 draft boosters. I'm like, alright, cool. I'll play with the draft boosters. So we opened them up, and a lot of cool cards, and we each used some of them, and then I started buying more Kamigawa. Then I realized that there were Transformers in Brothers War. I'm like, oh shit, so I started buying Brothers War. And then I downloaded Magic Arena, and I was playing the startup deck duels, and one of the creatures had this mechanic called For Mirrodin. I'm like, wow, what the hell is this? Well, I call it Mirrodin because that sounds way fucking cooler than Mirrodin. But then the guy at the store corrected me on how to pronounce it. And then again, I'm not even sure if he's right. Fuck that guy. He might be wrong. Because we live in Quebec and it's a French province, right? So he might be trying to pronounce it like a French way with English intonation. Or, sorry, an English way with French intonation. So it doesn't work. Like, my friend Hedwin, he went to the hospital. You know, like, it doesn't sound like English, even though it sounds English-ish. Anyways, so we did that, and we got, for the past Christmas, oh, geez, for Christmas. I must have spent so much money on freaking Wizards of the Coast. My kid got me Phyrexian bundle. I got him a Brothers War bundle. And I periodically, from, I think, September to December, I bought a pack here and there for him. So he must have had, like, 6 packs. 2 from Lord of the Rings, 2 from Brothers War, 2 from Ixalan. I really like Unfinity. That's a fun deck with weird, stupid shit. The Undecks are definitely awesome. There's one called Staying Power. And at first I didn't understand what it does. I'm like, what the hell does this even do? And my son actually figured out, I was like, oh, you know everything that happens that says until end of turn? I'm like, yeah. Well, this card makes it stay. It doesn't go away at end of turn. I'm like, oh shit, Bushido. That's just gonna exponentially get bigger. You know, Bushido 5, you block it once. That's stupid. You might as well just take the hit. Oh my god, that's all. And it's for every creature. I'm like, oh, but it's banned. You can't use it in any format. Maybe you can. I don't know. From what I gather, it's banned. Anyways, so the fact that he likes it and that it helps him with reading and applying logic to stuff, how could I not? So my nephew actually works at a gaming store, but for whatever reason they actually sell a lot of sports cards, and for whatever, I had no idea this was a thing, but it's actually really popular and they make a lot of money with that, and they actually have zero Magic kind of things going on. Like now they started events. They're doing a pre-release for Duskborn, and I bought 2 entries for that. Me and my son, it's at the end. Oh, you know when it is. It's there. It's the Friday before it's released. They have door prizes. They have anybody who wins gets a pack. I think they're giving away a commander deck, and they also have the day after they have the Duskborn qualifiers, and they're giving away $1,000 for the top winner. It's already sold out. So if you're like, well, what's the name of? Maybe I'll go. $1,000. That sounds great. No. The event's sold out. You have to find your shit somewhere else. But things I've noticed though about the Magic cards these days is that there's look a little woke. Like when I was getting the Kamigawa there, Neon Dynasty, I was like, why do these women look like men? What the hell is this? And anytime there's a broad and she's got like boobs, they ain't there. A lot of these, like, thank God for the anime alternate art, because shit. Remember the good old days when there was cleavage and shit and some like side boob sometimes? Hey man, can we make Magic girls hot again? That'd be great. You know, we don't need any hipster, woke macho man Randy Savage saying, "Oh yeah, check your pronouns. Dig it." What? Yeah, I noticed the manly women there, side shaved heads, and some weird ass other kind of stuff going on. The dudes look like they couldn't lift up a sword. Guys are like, "I'm a vegan." Like the kind of people that just couldn't possibly be more annoying. Man bun, vegan. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that football movie with Kevin James. Like his ex-wife's married to Rob Schneider, and he's like, man bun. And I'm like, oh my God. I turn to my kids like, watch, he's vegan. And like 3 minutes later, he mentions to everyone, we have vegan options. I'm like, yeah, see? Told you. Stupidly predictable, but it was a good movie nonetheless. Anyway, so that was my experience with Magic. We're going to do a pre-release. I'll let you know. I did a commander battle of 4 players for the first time a few weeks ago. I got to use my Pinger deck. Pinger. It's a burn deck that you could, that for commander, because burning in commander doesn't work. You have 3 players. You can't just target one person. So a pinger does extra damage. So you do a landfall one, and then, you bring in a land, everyone takes 1. You do a damage, well, you have a card that says, it does that much damage plus 1. Or you have one that gives you double damage. Non-combat damage is doubled. Any non-combat damage, any red damage is doubled. I have, and I'll show you guys, look, I'm not the master, the be-all, the end-all there. I don't have that kind of time. I have a girlfriend, kids, and a job I'm supposed to do. I don't have time to know it all, be it all. No. But what I know enough could help any newbies out there. And if you're new, well, you might want to listen in the future, as I'm going to do some basic combos or other combos, explain the basics of what Commander is, how it works, draft, how that works, pre-release, how that works. As at that point, I'd have done at least one event of each. And, things to look out for, things to help you think, and how to be able to, like a skeleton to help you build decks. Now, I'm not the best at it, but I'll do what I can. And let me tell you that most of these best building deck people, they don't even do it themselves. They use all these other tools. It's not like they sit there and have this encyclopedia knowledge when they open up a pack and they're like, oh, this is great. With some old ass card and this other card and this other card, I can totally wreck someone's life, which is this first card I read. And then they can do that for the rest of the pack. No. They use EDH Rec, and then they use what's this one? Architect, and then they use Scryfall for combos. It's like all over the. None of them are really like that intelligent. So like you're giving them a lot of. I mean, they'll know the list of banned cards by heart for whatever reason. They'll know what card you can use or you can't use in EDH or modern or standard and pioneer and all this other. What's the difference and all this other crap. Now this is gonna be just basic stuff. I'm gonna show you some combos I found useful, or something you can use as a what if while you do this other stuff. Like I'll probably go over my Pinger deck in great detail on why it is I constructed it, how I did it, etc., what inspired me, because I was inspired. I didn't know any of this shit could be done, and then I saw someone do it. I'm like, hey, that's a good idea. I didn't even look at it anymore. I went right away to Scryfall or whatever, and okay, I want to do this. So I looked up specific cards because I got a bunch of burns like Pyrotechnics or Blaze or Fireball. And I'm like, well, how can I make this even better? Anyways, that's it for now. Stay tuned. I'm going to do previews and all sorts of other stuff.